Hi there. My name's Daniel Markham. I'm a programmer, DBA, an architect. I've been programming for 30 years or more. Wrote my first contract program when I was 17. So I'm a technical guy, but I'm also an Agile coach. I've been a big fan of Scrum and Agile and Lean and Kanban for the last several years, and I've had the privilege of helping a lot of teams out and moving from the old waterfall, big structured process into like a lightweight, more like Google, less like the IRS. Um, Seen hundreds of teams, worked with dozens of them, uh, work with really large companies, work with really small companies. I'm a startup junkie, so I live this stuff. I just don't teach. I'm not just a teacher. I'm going to be your narrator and host. This is the first in a series of companion videos to the Backlog book. This is how to do backlogs. So what's a backlog? In simplest form, a backlog is just work that you need to do. Right? So you got to-do lists to go to the grocery store. You got a list on Trello for stuff to do. That's a backlog. Um, it's used across all industries to assign and monitor work. It's the way managers tell technology teams to get things done. It can be very complicated. There's these huge online systems for tracking stuff, and wow, we could do 3 or 4 books on just ways to manage and control projects, and there's been thousands already written that way. It can be very simple. Some teams keep post-its on a wall. Some teams I'll put post-its on their monitors. Developers, when I'm developing myself, I just keep post-its on my monitors and work through the post-its. So it varies widely from being an extremely simple thing to being this overly complex stuff you have to have specialists to learn how to use to put the data in and get it out. It's a broad subject. Lately, we've seen with Agile a movement for just trying to keep it simple, stupid. Make the dang thing as simple as possible. Post-its on the wall, much better than even an online tool. But KISS has some limits to it. This keep it simple thing does have some limits. I'm not saying you guys have to buy an expensive tool. This isn't some sort of how to do massive requirements. I want to point out to you that you can get hung up making things so simple you can hurt yourself, and I want to kind of show you where that boundary is. So we have 3 different books here. We have the Backlogs 1, Backlogs 2, Backlogs 3. Backlogs 1 is basically team developer stuff. It's a fiction story written around a textbook. So there's backlog stuff in the book, and then there's a story that goes along with a guy starting a job off and stuff. The videos here are the technical aspect of that. So if you've read the story and you really want to see the nuts and bolts of it, you're in the right spot. We're going to go over everything in the book. We're going to go over it in detail. We're going to go over stuff at a greater level than the book does. This is your backlogs class. Okay. Backlogs 2 is going to be backlogs at scale. So it's all about how teams of teams work together, how management actually talks to teams using the backlogs. It's backlogs from the team up to the organization. And then backlogs 3 is really exciting. It's going to be how businesses operate, how startups work. So it's going to tie lean startup and value models and growth models and all that stuff together with backlogs to show what makes a good backlog item, how to put things in the backlog, how to prioritize your backlog. This is really getting into how to be a product owner. And I'm not talking about how to be a product owner in terms of how to read charts, which is a lot of times what we do. I'm talking about how to really be a product owner, how to grow, create and grow and optimize a business as a manager, as an appropriate product owner role. We're going to have a lot of hands-on examples. I've got my Scrum Master Kit here. I'm going to show you what all this stuff does and how to use it. There may be even some chickens that show up from time to time. We'll try to keep it as serious as possible, though. The book is a little on the humor side if you haven't read the book yet. My daughter may come along. My son may bring some family members along. We may do some green screen stuff. Do want to keep it moving, but 99%, 95% serious, 5% goofing off. If you're a coach or you have a lot of Agile experiences, first set of series of stuff, the Agile 1 stuff, should be pretty, should make sense to you. We're going to talk different things that you've already done, how to use backlogs in teams. If you have a lot of experience with this, you're there. You should. But having said that, we're going to probably cover some snafus and things that have hurt you and your teams, and maybe go over ways that you can teach them better. So a lot of times as a coach, it takes you that 10th or 15th time to see a team doing something kind of screwy before you're like, oh, no, wait a minute, if you guys look at it this way, and it breaks the logjam. And you know it's screwy all along, but it's the coaching part that you may miss out on. So hopefully we can provide you some ideas for that. What types of projects we'll be covering? Well, one of the things that I didn't want to do is just strict greenfield stuff, because a lot of times when you do a backlog, thing, they always just talk about a fresh startup project or whatever, and everybody's just putting post-it notes up and say, ah, that's so wonderful. Of course, the problem is, a lot of people are in some sort of legacy project with, sorry, got 400,000 lines of code, and the backlog's got 2,000 items in it. You're my guys, okay? So we're going to go over several different scenarios for each of these things to make sure whatever you're in is covered. We're going to go over small greenfield. Got a little small team. I'm putting together a little small project over the next 2 or 3 months. 2 guys, 3 guys, maybe using the web or whatever. A large greenfield. They're paying us to do, integrated bulldozer applications. It's got embedded software. It's got server software. So we've got 60 people working. We're going over small legacy stuff where you've got an existing code base that's not that much and the backlog's not that big. And then we're over large legacy stuff. You're working on the spatial or whatever, and you're swimming in backlog items. These are completely different scenarios. And then there's 3 different things I'm going to go over, 2 of the same types of projects. It's going to be non-traditional projects. When you're done with this, you should be able to use these backlog techniques no matter what type of project you're using. I want you to think that this is just simply technology stuff, because it's not. These backlog principles are used with management training, with strategic training, with strategic planning, with architecture work, physical architecture work, with road planning. You can use this anywhere. So this is the general purpose how backlogs work thing. This isn't a specific how backlogs work for technology teams. And then finally, we're going to talk about that 2 to 3 person startup, which is sort of a form of greenfield work, but it's with a startup you're brutally lean, because if you don't deliver right away, they kill you, and that's usually a bad thing. So what topics are going over? We got 7 more videos to go over. The first thing we're going to go over is going to be well-formed backlogs. What's the difference between a well-formed backlog and one that's not? How to tell that, and how to make sure your backlogs are well-formed. We're going to talk about physical backlogs in the second one. The second video is going to go over walls, materials, cards, stickers, magnets. What's the purpose and all stuff? Is it we're just doing some sort of kindergarten art classes or something underneath it all that really makes sense? The third thing we're going to go over is splitting and testing backlog items. One of the biggest problems teams come to me with when they're first starting off is, hey, I get this story. The story won't fit in a sprint. Oh my God, what do we do? Matter of fact, a lot of teams get hung up on we can never do Agile or Scrum because, dang, the stories won't fit. How can we get things done? So we're going to have a whole thing just on story splitting up, with testing. The next one we're going to do sprint planning. A lot of stuff you should be doing already. We're going to hit this from the backlog side. So we're going to try to just talk about the backlog, and we'll lightly go over how the ritual itself works. We're going to talk mainly about how the backlog changes and what you look for in the backlog coming in, how it's going to change going out. Sizing and release planning. Sizing is another big one. I think if you understand story points, you'll like the sizing one. If you don't, you need to watch it, because taking away the predictive, asking developers particular dates is a very powerful tool, and having some sort of system that makes sense to everybody. We're going to have a series of lightweight tasking with Kanban. The startup guys and the Kanban guys and the lightweight tasking, everybody's going to flow-based stuff. And flow-based stuff, Kanban seems very cool and hip and happening and everything. Get rid of all rituals, tear it all down, we're just going to do flow. Now, I think in a lot of cases, you're probably absolutely right. Probably works great. And you can probably just task out a Kanban board. But we do need to talk about backlogs in a Kanban format, because backlogs are still backlogs. You're still the organization, or you or whoever, taking stuff for you to do, and they still obey the rules of backlogs even without the Kanban. So you need to understand them. Even if you're throwing away everything and not using it, you still have to understand the principles involved. So we're going to do that with that. And then finally, it's going to be, don't do this. Ouch, it hurts. Stop. Doctor, it hurts when I do this. We'll stop doing that. So I'm going to go over sort of a list of top 10 or 12 things that teams do constantly wrong over and over again. I guess it's just stupid people tricks. So we'll go over why they do them, how not to do them. So why backlogs? Why, Daniel? What's the big deal with backlogs? It's just a list of stuff to do. I've looked at a lot of teams, and I've talked to coaches in a lot of teams. I've developed software to do backlogs. One of my first coaching projects, since I'm a software developer, I went and I wrote some backlog software. By the way, I think everybody has to write an Agile, Scrum, system at some point in their life. It's just that, I wrote a Scrum system. Anyway, I wrote a backlog system, like everybody else did. Taught me a lot about backlogs. If you want to learn something, write a system to handle it. But every team I've seen has backlog problems. 90, 95% of them. And it's just terrible watching people go through this. There's so many different ways they do that makes backlogs hurt. And that's appealed to me professionally. I want to make sure you have an enjoyable, productive life, not something that you dread going to work every day. The product owner backlog piece is missing in action in many shops. We talk about the backlog, we talk about the product owner. I think everybody's clear on what the roles officially are, but it never really comes together on how it's supposed to work, right? So you just kind of get the product, go, hey, you just tell us what to do and we'll do it. And then the product owner is sitting there going, how do I do it? What do you, so we send them to the product owner class with product owner certification and all that. I'm not sure it really helps very much. I think we've missed the point of what the product owner does, and when we start training product owners, somehow we start talking mechanics of what they're doing, right? How do you look at a burn down? How do you, instead of the actual reason for what they're doing. So the product owner backlog piece just doesn't add up in Agile right now, the way it's being implemented. I know we're working on it, but it doesn't feel right to me. We need to look at that more. I think backlogs cut to the core of development, because a backlog says, hey, are you guys providing value or not? A backlog will tell me, is the team doing something useful? Because if stuff on the backlog ain't useful, I can guarantee you the team ain't doing anything useful either. So I mean, that's the backlogs where everything happens. It's the core of the team. It's a good indication how everything else is going on the team. If the backlog's a mess, the team's a mess. If the backlog's over-engineered, probably the team has over-engineered processes. You can look at the backlog and tell pretty quickly kind of where the team is as well. And finally, and I'll just hit you right on the head with this. What difference does it make how you're doing anything if you're not doing the right stuff? Who the hell cares about code complete and all that stuff and clean code? I mean, this is all, don't get me wrong, it's all good stuff. But if you're not doing the right thing, what does it matter? And so the backlog is the thing that tells us, hey, these are the things that are important that we need to do. I mean, until you have a backlog, you got nothing, right? Until you have economic value in a project, you got buckets. So backlogs are where it's happening. Backlogs drive everything. And the reason we got here, the reason we got in this mess has a lot to do with scientific management and Agile, as we talked about in the book. And real quickly, scientific management was started by Frederick Taylor 100 years ago. And it's basically all about the fact that in manufacturing, where he started off, you can view management as just another science. In other words, management of a process, you identify the process, you define the process, you measure the pieces, you optimize the pieces come back together, and the whole process is optimized. And that managers think and optimize, and workers do. I mean, that's scientific management. And if you look at any sort of management theory today, it's based on the fact that you can measure empirically, you can optimize Six Sigma, an example of this, Deming, all based on measure, define, measure, and analyze, DMAIC, right? It's all the same stuff. It's all scientific management. Management is a science. That's one side. The other side is the Agile guys. And the Agile guys came along, all of us did, 10, 20 years ago, and said, we've been developing technology for 40, 50 years. We keep making the same stupid mistakes over and over again. We keep emphasizing the wrong stuff. How do we keep from doing that? I think we had too much attention being placed on technology as a form of, as a ritual, sort of mechanistic factory type thing, and too little paid on the social human aspect of it. And from what we've seen, from practical experience, the human part of technology development is actually more important, and there's much more leverage for performance increases there than it is in treating things mechanistically. Matter of fact, counterintuitively, the more mechanically we treat technology development, the worse we make it. We screw it up. You try dividing it up and you get a million little pieces. You divide it up, you get a million other little pieces. You try to optimize, you end up adding processes, trying to optimize. It's a very bad thing we've gone down. And so, the Agile Lean philosophy and the scientific management philosophy, both of which are very valid and very useful in a lot of situations, are in conflict. Managers continue to view tech development as just another business process to be optimized, like shipping. The Agile folks had the backlog idea as being taking work to the teams, but there wasn't a lot of definition around what taking work to the teams meant. As a matter of fact, initially it felt a lot like a cop-out, like, hey, want to know what to do? Ask the product owner. He's going to put it in your backlog. And it's like, hey, that's awesome. I ain't got to work. I don't have to talk to users. I don't have to talk to the business. I got a product owner guy. And so whenever there's a question, it's like, you got to ask the product owner guy. He's the magic business guy. And that just wasn't realistic. It wasn't fair to product owners, and it just wasn't realistic for the team. It was awesome because we didn't have to worry about a lot of things. You know, Agile gained traction by engaging people emotionally. People would look at the situation around them and say, this is really screwed up, and it was. And like I said, it's the reason I'm here, because developers have a hard time, and they would get involved, and they'd say, take a stand. We've got to tear it down. We've got to fix it. We've got to change the system. And so it was fun. It was people kind of going a little emotional jag and protest, and it was a feel good type thing. Agile appeals emotionally to people. Scientific management is more of a cold, rational type thing of, well, how many did you have last month? 4.7. What's your standard deviation? Well, or how's your variance going? Scientific management was all, hey, just give me the numbers, give me the process. There's nothing personal here. We just need to optimize the process. So they're completely different worlds, and they grew completely differently, and they get traction in completely different parts of the organization. So if you're looking at the top of the organization, CO, CEO, CIO, those guys are going to be brought up and bred in scientific management. If you're looking at the bottom of the organization, those guys are going to be living and breathing the Agile, XP, Lean, Kanban. Let's make it easy, make it simple. Let's do something valuable for folks and not kill ourselves. So there's a tremendous tension there between the systems, both how they grow, both in the organization, and how we implement technology. Both are right, but yet they both have to coexist. So this is a fascinating problem that applies to whatever business you're in, because every business is going to involve technology development now. So it's relevant. So what do you need to do? Well, you've got some work to do. You got to read the book. It's a fiction book. It does involve chickens. I'll warn you right now. And it's not deep diving stuff, but it's supposed to be kind of fun, at least stuff you can remember. But you got to start the book, because I'm not going to go back and redo the book all over again. You get some real world experience using backlogs. If you're at school and just learning backlogs, you're welcome to view the videos and read the book. It's just not going to make a lot of sense to you, but hey, float your boat, go for it. But really get some real world experience. If nothing else, just boot up Trello online and start keeping track of your stuff on your to-do list. That's all I really got to do. My notes here. All right. Keep an open mind. Okay. If it's all going to add up for you in the end, and this thing will all come together for you at the end, I promise you. But if you're not careful, you're going to get hung up along the way. I'm going to say something that doesn't resonate with you or whatever. Just let it slide. Just pretend like I know what I'm doing, and at the end, hey, he knows what he's doing. You'll feel very happy about the whole thing, I promise. Bear with me. We got some background material to cover, and things build on each other. So this is hopefully the most fuzziest piece we've got, this first video of the first series. I want you to experiment and adapt. None of this means anything unless you're using it in the real world. It's just all theory, and I don't want to give you theory, but I do want to give you a firm foundation to use. So whatever you do, take what I'm giving you, put it to work, see if it works right. Email me, let me know. I'm not afraid to come back and say I was screwed up or changing things. Okay, nobody's promised you a magic bullet here. I don't have like the fairy dust to sprinkle you with, or the wand or whatever. I'm just going to explain to you why it works. I'm going to explain to you how to tell good from bad. I'm going to show you where you are now, where you want to go. It's still work. There's going to be work involved with this, unfortunately. So what am I promising you? Well, for the first part, this first set of videos, I want you to understand the difference between good backlog items and bad backlog items. Easy for me to say. And why some are good, why some are bad. I want you to understand a bunch of different ways to easily get through all the common hangups with team level backlogs. So, you should, hey, they're doing this. This is how to fix it. This thing should be natural for you. Should be no problems at all. I promise to give you enough examples that'll cover most any situation you're in. Non-standard, startups, big systems, legacy systems, small systems. Bubba, we got it, okay? I don't want to leave you hanging high and dry or saying this doesn't apply to me. And I'm going to give you a foundation for level 2, for part 2. And part 2 is going to be, backlogs from the team out, from the team up to the rest of the organization. So you got to do this part to do the next part, because I'm not going back and doing this next time. We got more ground to cover in part 2. It's going to be a lot of fun. I hope it's going to be interactive. I promise to make faces at you. throw in some special effects every now and then. I can dance, I can sing, there might be puppets. Um, there will be a sing-along at the end. I hope you guys are okay with your singing voices. I think it's going to be, if you really care about backlogs, it's going to stir a debate at work. My goal here is to provide you with an argument. So if you're looking reading this, he's all screwed up, awesome. This will get you thinking. Show it to your friends and get going about this, because this is the key. This is the corner of your work. This is what it's all about. This is the value you're providing. If somebody's giving you money, or you're expecting to make money in a startup based on the value of your backlog. So your backlog is your value. Okay. So hopefully this will stir a debate for you. I think it's going to change the way you do your work for the better. I'm hoping that that you'll look back and say, wow, I remember after I watched these videos before, oh my God, we were doing all these mistakes and it was painful and nobody wanted to do sprint planning. And now, geez, we're just rocking through this stuff and we love the work and everybody loves what we're doing. And more to the point, we're having fun and growing the company. So that's where I want to take you. And buckle up, saddle up. We're going to have some fun. Thanks for watching. Let's get started, okay?